Content Catchup.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 17 of the Content Catchup. My name is Michael Barker and this is Julian Wallace as usual. Thank you for tuning in.
What up?
Jules, nice little intro there. You're holding your mic today.
Yeah,
what are you
I've really
doing over
cooked
there?
myself here. Look, my mic's got one of those like elasticy cages, and it's just all gone to shit, really, Bark. So that's the only way to describe it. I don't know what's going on.
You've
I've
lost the ability
plot.
to function at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've tried a new evening recording. Oh, that's not
Evening recording.
Evening recording
Yeah.
time slot. Brought on to you by Jenna Fulton, of which we'll go into soon. But she sort of inspired us. Maybe a bit of a new trend.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. We were thinking next time if we make the times line, we could have a little tinny or a little drink
Yeah, nice.
on the side here.
Maybe we could have a spawn. A sponsor out
A
there?
spawn, yeah, a little CC
So
and
the
dry
cool kids
spawn.
say?
You reckon?
Spawn?
Sponny.
Yeah, well, we'll try to get someone on board. But how's lockdown treating you? Week 2 of lockdown. If you're listening, you don't know, Melbourne's in lockdown.
You love lockdown.
You do?
Dum, dum, dum,
You're a
dum.
homebody that you don't like to socialise, so...
I don't not like, sorry, that I do like going out, but I also, look, the bank account was taking a bit of a hit after an extended lockdown last year and just trying to make up for lost time. So it's probably come at a good time. And we only get paid monthly. So we still got another 2 weeks to pay. And I fear that if I had continued along my current trajectory of pay that it would have been a lot of eggs for dinner.
Are you asking for a pay rise live on air?
No, I'm just asking for some serious budgeting help. That's my biggest problem.
Ballsy move, Wallace.
It's all right. What about you? How's lockdown treating you?
Lockdown's fine. Lockdown's good. You know, it's nothing. It's not the worst being stuck at home with, Elise, the dog, but I wouldn't work from home every day given the choice.
No.
But hopefully.
But I heard a little rumor that Elise might have brought you an espresso martini while you were finishing off work.
Yes,
Yesterday.
she did. She had a nice little Zoom drinking sesh with the gals, as some people might say.
How's that service, mate?
I know.
Like, that's it. Add in a sound effect that's like wedding music, because we got to talk about this.
You talk about it every week. In fact,
I know, but we're going to talk about it one more time.
What do you want to talk about?
Why isn't there a ring on that finger? She's bringing you espresso martinis while you work.
So you think I'm that shallow that you just need to buy me gifts and I'm sold? Have at it life. Yeah. I'll spend it rest.
I reckon that'd be the key to my heart.
Okay, well, if you're listening, anyone out there?
If I could train Byrne to bring me a little drink while I work, I reckon I'd marry him.
That's a bit issue. I've got an issue with that.
Okay.
Anyway,
well, we're not talking about my issues today. What are we talking about today, Barks?
What do you want to talk about? No, we had a guest this week, finally.
We did have a guest.
From the Gold Coast Suns. I tried to link it up with a bit of a on this day moment, or on this day fact for my intro.
That's a brutal introduction.
I was listening back to it. That's the worst introduction we've had on this show. But anyway, Jenna is from the Gold Coast Suns, and you'll hear plenty more from her soon. But yeah, it was very enjoyable chat, Jules.
Yeah.
And we might as well just stop talking about it and actually go straight into it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon we go into it. Here's Jenna from the Gold Coast Suns.
Welcome back, everyone. Friends, enemies. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're joined by Jenna Fulton. Now, Jenna is from the Gold Coast Suns, and Julian, I did some extensive research for this one because a bit of on this day, five days ago, 10 years ago though, Gold Coast Suns made their debut. And it is appropriate.
That math just does not work in my head. 5 days ago.
But 5 days ago, but 10 years ago on the 5th day ago, that's terrible English, the Gold Coast Suns made their debut, so it's appropriate that Jenna is joining us. Anyway, cut that long intro. Welcome, Jenna. How are you going?
Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here.
That's a great intro, Barks.
I tried.
It's a good start. Just confuse everyone before we even get kicked off.
That was a big lead up.
I tell you what though, like when I looked at when they made their debut, if you said that you guys have been like existing for 10 years, that feels like ages.
Yes, it does. It's strange because we did a lot of content around it over the last few weeks. So it is strange looking back and like contacting a few old players, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
First kind of team of the decade celebrations are always like controversial. Did you have much feedback on that team of the decade that you put out?
Not overly, because I was just like, oh, I just trust the panel. But there was a lot of feedback. Like, you've got to engage with guys like Gorringe who always have to put their 2 cents in. So I was like trying to like think of a reply to him like on the spot, being like quick before his comment gets too many likes. But yep, yeah, not too bad.
Always, it's always fun having to deal with Daniel Gorringe, and we say that because he is one of our friends at Carlton, but he is an interesting character. Jenna, we're going to jump straight into this because I'm sure all our listeners know that Barks and I are tight asses and we only have 40 minutes on the Zoom. So we're going to kick off with the 1-minute brief, which is a quick way for us to get to know you a little bit better. So first off, what is your nickname?
I don't really have a nickname at work. If anything, it's just JF.
JF. I think that's what we were kind of guessing beforehand. We're trying to put a nickname to the face. What is your official job title?
It's digital and social media coordinator. So,
what is the favourite bit of content that you've worked on?
Probably a couple of the milestone videos that we've done a couple of years ago. Pierce Hanley's 150th. We kind of got in contact with a lot of his family members and people overseas, and a lot of his mates were like all over the world. And we just like really didn't let on anything to him. And it was just a last minute, hey, like we got a last minute messaging we need you to do in the studio. Can you come in? And we kind of just played him the video and he got a bit emotional. So it's always,
we love
always
tears.
good when you get,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's always good when you get a tear out of a player. So
that is great. I feel like milestones like that can go one of two ways. Like you either get players who really get really emotional for it, or others that are just kind of like, yeah, all right, yeah, cool, 100 games, whatever.
Move on.
Yeah,
he tried to hold it in, but we got it out of him.
And this one, our favourite question to ask: what is your best non-work skill?
I don't do much outside of work, sadly. I'd have to say I've got a party trick. I can spin a ball on my finger pretty well.
Oh, do you have a ball in your room?
Yeah. I do, but I'm not going to do it.
Oh, come on. You can't say that and not do it. I play basketball, Jenna, so I'm jealous of that because I feel like whenever you say you play basketball, people expect you to be able to do that, but you've one up to me there.
Well, I do it and people are like, oh, you play basketball? I'm like, no.
But I can bloody spin the ball on my finger.
But I can spin a ball. I worked at a gym for 8 years. That's all I can do.
Let's go into work life. So I know you've been there is this your 4th season at the Suns?
Yep, 4th season.
So you probably weren't quite at I guess the time of establishing who the hell the Suns were online and their social identity and stuff like that. But is it sort of exciting being one of the faces of the newest teams in the AFL? Like talk to us a bit about that, and like if you were or if you're still involved in I guess finding a bit of the identity and your staples in your week to week content, I guess.
Yeah, so I came and it was it was Dewey's first year as head coach. Yeah. And then it was kind of like the last year that Maisie and Lynchy were captain. So I kind of got to experience like the whole shift in like losing both your captains, and then the shift of like don't want to say rebuild, but a rebuild. And then the culture shift that kind of went from there. And then when I started, like the platforms didn't really have much of a personality or a brand. So the club worked really hard in kind of like engaging the community and the players and the staff with coming up just kind of with more of a brand to like the club. And I think that's where we got that hashtag challenge accepted, which is obviously we get some negative feedback on that from time to time, but that comes with the job. So there was a lot of hard work put into coming up with that brand. And then from there, like I kind of just really wanted to bring more of like the human personality to the channels. Thankfully my manager kind of just let me just instead of having like my foot in the door in like different areas, I just kind of took over the platforms, and then kind of gave it a human element, and then from there, like obviously we got an AFLW team, and then AFLW Instagram account, and then just trying to do like some normal things differently from like your everyday content that everyone does, injury updates, players around, like everything we do each week, to trying to like change up contract announcements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When you say you like embrace the community to kind of define your persona, what did you do? Did you like talk to other local footy clubs, local members, and kind of get a sense of who they were to better reflect who you were online? Is that what you kind of did?
Yeah, I think like I wasn't overly involved in like that whole process, but we have a lot of tie-ins with a lot of our local junior clubs, so they're like heavily involved, and we're heavily involved with them when it comes to like players go out to the junior clubs quite a bit and do visits and stuff like that. So it's just kind of getting that, because obviously not everyone on the coast follows AFL, and not many people do, but yeah, it was kind of just getting that engagement with the community, and like, this is who we are and this is what we want to bring. So yeah,
I guess kind of like building on that a little bit, Queensland is probably not as traditional of an AFL environment as like Melbourne or even South Australia or even Western Australia. Does that make it a little bit harder or a little bit easier for you when you're kind of coming up with content and even, you know, engaging the community like you said?
I think it's hard because like I've never worked in a like traditional footy environment, so this has always been like the norm for me. But obviously people I've worked with knows how it is in Victoria, and I've like obviously experienced that going down to games and stuff like that. So I definitely think like in a different way it's harder because you've got to teach like the community like players' names, whereas like if you're a Richmond supporter, you know every single one of their names or whatnot. Like, so I think we spend a lot of time on like educating like the non-footy fan on like players' names, like even rules about footy, or then even just coming up with stuff that's different so it can be engaging. Like, because I think we find a lot of people that follow us aren't actually like AFL fans. They just follow us because they're like, oh, this is a Gold Coast club and they do good content or something like that. For example, like last night, mid-season draft, I think our announcement of the player got 50 likes, and then we put up a tweet saying, when you realise you've got a Ned and a Flanders on your list. I think that's up to, and I think that's up to like 900 likes because people are like, oh, that's funny, like,
yeah,
and it's more relevant to them.
I was gonna say, I think that's quite a unique perspective, or a unique situation more so, because like, just you said like you got to literally tell your fans who your players are, when like usually like we're so used to, especially being in Melbourne, like it feels strange to try to, you do it with new players, but it feels strange that you have to, part of your role is to actually explain who the hell's on your team. Do you sort of like strip it back to basics of, I guess, like player profiles, and is there sort of something you do that is really basic to you, but it's sort of how you explain who is on your team?
I think for us is like really showing kind of like the inner sanctum, getting to show players' personalities as much as we can so people can recognise them and whatnot. And then I think like this year we've kind of steered away from a little bit, but like the last couple of years, like team announcement, even just on Instagram, we'd lay out the entire, like every position, every number and first name and last name. Where like a lot of clubs are just either last name or just a list or link in bio for the full team, but whereas we're like making sure it's like, and we had a player headshot with full name, number, every and position. So it was just like just little details like that, I think, that we tend to think about a lot more.
It's funny that you mentioned that. It's probably like something that we do take for granted down here, like while we are at the forefront of everyone's mind, and that comes with its own difficulties. There's a lot of things that we don't have to not work as hard at, but we don't have to put as much effort. And even that small example with team selection, like coming from Carlton's perspective, we completely like wound it back this year just because we thought it wasn't worth our time doing like a whole video or a whole graphic or whatever it might be. It's just a little bit different. Like I guess you don't have a full appreciation of how other people do things and the reasons that they do it. But that makes complete sense if you're trying to educate a community around who your players are and form that connection.
Yeah, because to like the everyday footy fan, you think, oh, they're really dumbing this down. But I'm like, most of our fans have got no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, and they just want to be kind of like a part of the Suns community because it's a Gold Coast AFL team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I had the next one I had written down, I was sort of laughing to myself because it's very much, we can all relate to working for a team that isn't great on field, and there are times where, week to week, you're probably not expecting a win. I guess back when, not so much now, but like back when, I guess your early years, did you find it hard to stay motivated in such a like result-based industry?
I think you can get really frustrated and quite flat because you're obviously invested in your team. And then it's just something that's just not even in your control.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of bring yourself back and be like, this is in my control. I can still make good content, even if they're not doing so well. But then with that, you get the risk of like, you want to do something a bit more on like the lighthearted side, but then people are like going to rip you apart because the team's not winning.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's just like, this is not a reflection on me. Like, come on.
Such a good point. No, we talked about it so often about how winning or losing impacts the amount of fun you can have. Like so many people, like you sort of explain what we do for jobs and then they're like, oh, there must be such a fun environment. But when you're losing, you literally so many opportunities are taken away from you purely because your team's not winning. And that is a bit frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely been so many times where it's like the opportunity to do something like really funny, but I'm like, we lost and you don't want to like take the piss. So it's unfortunate, but it is the industry that it is. But yeah.
Is that where you've sort of fallen? You said you put like a big focus on the inner sanctum sort of stuff as opposed to like your typical, I guess, your real rusted on fan content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like in that instance, if you've had like a few losses in a row, you've got to really just got to strip it back and bring it to the fans and show that back yourselves and show that the boys are training hard, they're doing the work, and that's just kind of like all the fans want to see at that point in time.
Revert back to Ned Flanders.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're probably at that stage now as well where we're thinking about content, because obviously we're not getting all the content that we win that would normally come from a win or from like really good results. So that even that trading thing you said, I think we had a meeting the other day and we're like, shit, like what do we do? Like we've got nothing coming up like until this, and we're like, training highlights, like that'll work. Like just to show people that they're actually on the track.
They're training.
They're training. They're not losing games on purpose. Like, I guess with Gold Coast and it's probably not too much the case anymore, but they do have like a significantly younger list than most other teams, and I guess because it's not as rich a club that's tied up in a lot of the tradition that a lot of the older clubs are, like with past history and scandal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It does seem as though it's a lot easier to produce content with players who maybe have a better understanding of social media and not so restricted. Is that the case? Like, is this pipe dream that we're all living down here with like old teams that just don't want to do anything on social?
Yeah, I think definitely to an extent. I remember like my first couple of years, like Michael Riscatelli was still on our list. Yeah. And you'd ask him to do something and be like, Jenna, you know better. and then you get like guys that come in who are like, no, I just want to get followers. So they're happy to do anything. And then there are the younger boys that are like, nah, like not too cool, but like just don't want to borrow it. So there is like back and forth, but you get guys that come and when they first come, you're like, do you talk? Like I'll use Jai Farah for an example. Jai's not even young. He's 24. Like he's young, but like we drafted him when he was about 23, 24. And when he first came, I was like, do you speak? I was just like, wow. And now he's happy to do anything. Like he's come, like it's really cool to see them kind of come out of their shell.
Yeah.
especially with Indigenous round just gone, he got to design some boots through his boot sponsor, and he was just like so keen to talk about them and so passionate about it. And I was just like, you've changed so much, and like in such a good way.
You always forget like that they're people just like us, and I mean, as with everyone else, like there are people that are really shy and just don't want to talk, and then there's people that just won't shut up.
I was about to say, I don't know if you guys have like found this, but I do think that a lot of, and Matthew Cottrell is a good example, that the initial ones that come across as very quiet are sometimes the best in terms of interviews and doing content. I don't know if you found that, Jenna, but like the first impression of what someone's like could be the complete opposite. And Matthew Cottrell, I've never seen a more outgoing person that comes across the complete opposite.
Yeah, and then you can get like the exact opposite of that, where someone's like genuinely really funny off camera. Yeah, you put a camera in front of them and they're like straight back in their shell, and you're like, come on, I know you're there.
It's a real reminder that you're right. Where you're all humans like us. I
think like another example of that, like you got people like Noah and Rowley, which like everyone just loves that story because they're best friends. But like, and whereas Rowley comes across this character like that doesn't give too much, but you put them in a room together, and because they're so different, they just work really well together. And it's like always comes, especially if they're in a funny mood, you get them in the studio when they're in that kind of mood, it's just always going to be a laugh.
Does that come with its own like challenges in a way? Like, do you have to sometimes rein them back in and just be like, whoa, boys, like it still is a
not
production.
Too much. It's pretty funny. Like a couple of weeks ago, I actually asked Rowley to just film like a Mother's Day message for me. And Noah was just like, why don't you want me too? I was like, we love you too equally, but he was there at the time.
I was actually gonna when you were talking about the young talent, I was gonna say touch on Rowley. Is Rowley exactly how he comes across? Because I don't think I've seen a young player that seems so unique but so beloved by everyone. Like, it just doesn't seem like anybody could dislike this man.
Yeah, it's just so hard to describe. I love Rowley. Like, he's such a legend. But yeah, it's pretty much, it is what you get with him. It's just funny because like he's just not big on social media. And so I remember when like he got those first like few votes on those first few games that he played, and apparently like over the dinner table they were like, have you seen this meme? Like, have you seen this? Like, Noah's like, have you seen this? And he's like, no, I haven't seen anything. Like, he had no idea. Which is like, I think that's like the best thing about it, that he's just got no idea if something's like, I can't even remember what it was, but like end of last year, he went viral for something else. And I was like, oh, you've gone viral again. He goes, oh, I think it was his note.
The notebook.
It was the notebook. And I was like, oh, you've gone viral again. And he's like, what now? And he's just like, he's like, what? He's like, I'm just living my life, like kind of thing. I was like, oh, it's your notebook. And he was like, I was writing notes. Like, but he's like, I don't even want to see it. He's like, I don't want to see it, which is like so good because he's so level-headed like that. He just like gets on with it.
Which is like the way you've got to be, I think. Like, you can't take yourself too seriously, otherwise you'll go down the trap of like not ever wanting to do anything for anyone. And it's what we're trying to I think the biggest thing with some of our players is we're trying to communicate them. Like, the more open and the more easygoing you are, the more potential you have later in your career to do other stuff. Otherwise, you kind of end up in a hole. And what do you do if you don't want to go into the regular workforce? Like, media opportunities only come out for those with personalities.
And it's also like, we're not actually wanting you to be anything but yourself. Like, literally just be who you are, and that'll be the best case for us as well.
And normally there's another reason why we're getting you to do this content.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
I haven't just pulled you out of a hat and be like, oh, you can do this. You said that, so your first season was when Dewey joined. Did you find, touch on making them mark, so people that aren't across it, it's an Amazon documentary series that, how many teams was in it? Six?
Oh, I don't even know now.
6 or so. Yeah. But anyway, it was a real cool Inner Sanctum series on Netflix. No, it wasn't. Amazon. Idiot.
Jesus.
Not sponsored by Amazon. Anyway, it was a good real Inner Sanctum piece, and I think for someone like the Gold Coast Suns, it probably provided a lot more exposure than you've had. Did that change anything I guess, inside the team?
I don't think really like inside. I think everyone just got kind of used to those guys being around.
Yeah.
And then I think it was really like a different. No one had really seen that kind of side to Dewey before.
Yeah.
Where he's like they show him cracking jokes and whatnot, and then his infamous spray against you guys actually up in Darwin, and which like he hated. Well, I think he hated because he's not really one to ever spray the players. They just happened to capture that one. But yeah, it was just like, that really like funny side of him kind of thing, like where he's cracking jokes and showing his personality. And I just remember we got a lot of positive feedback on Twitter about him, just because everyone was like, oh, like he's a human. I'm like, oh, funny that. Like, yeah.
I have to say, like, I didn't watch a lot of the Making the Mark documentary. I found it like, I mean, nothing relates to anything I'm about to say, but I found it hit like too close to home in terms of like the hub and reliving that again. Like, just couldn't be bothered really watching it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, but the bits I did love were anything that involved Dewey. I thought they were like so real in terms of like just showing that all these personalities do exist in a football world, and that not every coach is like a Alistair Clarkson who is so rigid and whatnot. Like, most of them are nice people. Yeah,
definitely. And I do agree about it being a bit, watching it back, I was like, oh, this is triggering.
Yeah. And I think like, because Eddie was in it as well for us, that it was just like, I don't know, any scene that was in there, apart from trying to work out whether we were in it and whether we were going to get screenshotted and sent around to all of our mates nonstop, it was just kind of like, this didn't happen in the sequence that I remember it happening. And while this was happening, there was 10 other things going on. I was like, it just blew my mind too much.
I agree. I think there was one where it was like, we were in Wollongong and then we were back on the Gold Coast and then we're back in Wollongong. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. That's not right.
Did you count how many times you were in the background, Jenna, or was that just me?
I can't say I counted, but there was a few times where I was like, oh, I really thought I got out of that shot. But I definitely had some friends send me recordings of myself, which is great.
Barks just wants to brag about how many he was in there.
No, I was pretty flat. I was once. And
only once?
Yeah. Crit had another social person from our team featured twice because we were having competition. So it was pretty flattening, I must admit.
I reckon I might even have you there. I reckon I got a couple more times than you.
Go back and watch it and just make a counter.
I can't watch it again.
This probably, we're going to take it to a different level, but I guess this kind of ties in a little bit, and to something you were saying early before, like, all jokes aside, like, none of us really have any talents outside of work, and there's a good reason for it. We were talking on our last episode, one of our few listeners wrote in and asked like how we deal with burnout, and the reality of the job is that you do spend a lot of time working and thinking about it nonstop. But have you got any tips for anyone else in this kind of similar position on dealing with burnout, or do you find it affects you a lot?
I think my boss is, if she's listening, my manager, Ree, if she's listening, she's going to be very proud if I say this. But I think it's okay to take a day off. I think when I first started, like the first couple of years, she was drilling me. She's like, you can take a day off. And I just thought I had to like work weekends and then work all week. But finally, like, I've come to the point where I'm like, no, it's okay to like stop and switch off and not look at social media, because the thing never sleeps. Yeah. So like, if you're not switching off and just taking a day and having some time to yourself, then it definitely catches up to you.
Do you find yourself like actively turning off social media when you don't have to be working?
I'm not very good at it, but I've turned things like my Twitter notifications off, which you would have noticed when my slow replies. Sorry, Michael. But yeah, so I've got stuff like just little things like that, turning like constantly having my Twitter notifications turned off, and so just doing the little things and trying to just make conscious effort, and then you get your screen time report back on a Sunday and you're like, oh.
I think it's a really good point what you said at the start about especially when you first start a job in this industry, and it might be your first job in this crazy sport world that you sort of think that making a first good impression means not taking time off, but you could almost flip it the other way of like if I'm seen to take some time off, like the deserved time off, then that is a good impression. But I feel like that'd be a very difficult way to think because we all just want that first, good impression, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's just learning to just take a break. I think is a hard thing.
Yeah, learning to say no. I guess is the other flip side of that is like when you get an email late at night just saying, "Hey, it's fucking 10:30." Yeah. Probably not, right? Like
saying no is a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like it's not, the world's not going to end if it doesn't get done that second. Yeah.
On the flip side of that, because I don't want it to be the ultimate negative to kind of finish on, where do you kind of find inspiration for what you do produce? And like, are there any accounts that you really like following? Is there anyone else in this space that you think is doing a really good job?
I think everyone probably draws a lot from American sports teams.
Yeah.
So, and we're the color red, so it's a hard color to work around sometimes. So I tend to find myself looking at any team that's majority red and being like, how do they make red look nice? That sounds weird, but that's how it is. And then we're lucky enough to have our video producer, Buddha as we call him. He's very knowledgeable in the pop culture space. So he's done a lot of very funny little videos throughout the off season. That's done quite well. So just, I think his knowledge of pop culture is insane. Whereas like I try to like give him some inspo. I'm like, I'm helping. But yeah, so I think definitely just like American sports teams. And then there's always people around you that are like, oh, you should do this.
And you have to turn around and be like, well, no, we can't for 10 different reasons, but thank you.
Because we're lost.
Yeah, I like your idea.
Has Buddha, sorry, you said Buddha, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has he driven a lot of that sort of meme culture? Because I feel like you guys have come out with some very funny, I think it was during the off season, whether it was signing videos or teasers, things like that. Yeah,
definitely. I think him and I work just like really well together. I think back last year when probably one of my favorite ones was back last year when the fixtures were getting announced like week by week, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
And then we found out we were playing in Sydney, and we were like, oh, let's try and do something fun for it, but it's not getting announced the next day, so we've got some time. And I think I like woke up at 2 a.m. and I was like, I've got it. I was like, Finding Nemo, P7, 42 miles away. I was like, that's it. But obviously, like I come up, like we can come up with the ideas, but he's going to do the hard stuff and make it look cool.
Yeah.
So I did my bit, and then I'm like, over to you.
It's never when you want the ideas to come up.
Yeah, it was definitely. I was just like, couldn't sleep one night, and I was like, what can we do that's funny? I was like, I've got it. I was like, it's 2:30. Surely I can do something better at this time, like sleep.
You got to take the inspiration when it comes.
True, very true.
This wasn't on the run sheet, but I just kind of popped into my head, and I don't know how much you had to do with it, but were you around when Gold Coast were playing games away in China?
I was.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
I didn't have to go to any.
Yeah.
So that was when I was like pretty fresh, and I wasn't doing a lot of away games.
Yeah.
And it also was kind of like not when on game day when Insta stories were a massive thing.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird to think about now, but like it was kind of like a lesser of a priority.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't go to that, but I just remember the guys we had on the ground. It was just weird because they'd like send me stuff and they're like, here you go. And I'm like, what's happening? Like it was just very weird dynamic.
Did you kind of have to like change your content approach at all? Did you try and capture anything from the Chinese market? Like I'm a bit like, it's a bit baffling to think about.
I think I'm trying to think because we wore like the special Guernsey.
Yeah.
And I think Aaron Young and Calamar Chi, who both aren't with us anymore, but they did go out in the Guernseys and they had to do like the photo shoot out somewhere in Chinatown. So I was like, oh, poor bloke. So would have just been copying skit. Aaron had this long blonde hair.
Yeah.
So he just would have been copying stairs left, right, and centre.
It's such a it's a weird thing when AFL try and expand to different areas. It's just, I can see why they do it, but China doesn't seem like a natural one to start with. But it's still an interesting experience.
Those days are over, Jules.
I was very new then, so I was just like, I'll roll
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
And then when someone asks your opinion, you're kind of like, well, look, if it were me, I probably wouldn't say China.
Partnerships.
Oh dear, love partnerships. No, it was really good, Jenna. Thank you for jumping on and at quick notice. This is our first evening shoot, and I am much more for it than the early mornings. So you might have helped us unlock something new in our kind of repertoire. So thank you so much.
I think, Michael, you asked me for the last 3 Sundays. I was like, we're either flying or we're somewhere, or it's just my one day off. So I was like,
no, it's fine. You gotta take your days off, as you said. So it's the footy life. We can't help it. But no, we really appreciate it, and thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, Jules. What a chat. That was very insightful, and I rather enjoyed it. What do you think?
I thought it was great. I kept harping on it in the interview, but I'm always just so curious, what life or what football life is like outside of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And not to sound I hope I didn't come across as patronising in that little chat, but Melbourne's obviously a big football-centric town. So it's always interesting to hear how different people from non-traditional football areas, even with Michelle, how they go about building interest in a sport that's probably not the traditional or the main code in that area. I don't know. I love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. And I remember once my first experience with that. This goes off topic, but ages ago, I went up to Sydney, I think, to visit my cousin, and we went to some bar for a few drinks, and then I asked if they could put the AFL on, and nobody knew what I was talking about. I'm like, what is this? But you're right, we're so used to what it's like for us, and it was interesting to hear from Jenna of how they've literally got to go back to basics about telling people who the hell's on their team and how to actually get them to follow the Suns and sort of dial in, I guess.
But in that, I really appreciate and I really respect the what Jenna was talking about when she said that they went back to the community and they tried to work out exactly what the community was interested in. And that's one thing that you can easily lose sight of, really, is putting the fan first, because to get the fan, to get the engagement or the interactions or whatever else that might be, you've got to do something that the fan wants to see. And if you're not doing that, then what are you doing really?
And it's a smart sort of tactic for a new team, in a sense. You don't need to focus so much on I guess what the sport is, but the great thing about sporting clubs is the community. So if you focus on actually building that first, I think it's quite a smart initial goal, I guess. Exactly, yeah.
Good way to get engagement from an early days.
Yes, and she has good perspective. I feel like Jenna had good perspective on just working in this sport, but looking after yourself, taking time off. I feel like she had her head screwed on with that sort of stuff. So it was good to hear. I know we go on about it sometimes, but it was good to hear someone else's perspective on it.
But we go on about it because it's bloody important.
Oh, it is. Yes.
I mean, we don't waste time talking about shit, Barks.
No, we would never do that.
We would never do that.
Speaking of shit, let's continue on to our next shit segment. What is it?
Are we doing Egg of the Week?
Yeah, I thought you might have something up your sleeve. I did last week.
I always have something up my sleeve, right? And let me tell you. Today I went.
Sorry, wouldn't it be great if you just pulled an egg out of your sleeve
and just cracked it on my skull? But let me tell you a little bit of story from today. So lockdown, obviously, in Melbourne, and one of my goals for this year is to start shopping less at supermarkets and start shopping more at markets, because I feel like I'm spending way too much money on vegetables and just throwing them out because I don't get to eat them all, or they go off real quick. So today I wandered down to the Queen Victoria Market to have a little bit of a stroll around, get a little bit of culture. There's some coffee. There's some, if you eat meat, there's a shitload of deli meats that are just all hung up there. Really nice cheese, lactose intolerance. But Bucks, You know what the best deal that I got was there today?
I have no idea what it could possibly be.
Farm fresh eggs. Which leads me into my main meal for this week is going to be...
Eggs on eggs on eggs on eggs on eggs on eggs.
Eggs on eggs on eggs.
Egg of the week. Now, our favorite time of the podcast, Jules. And
I feel like favorite time.
I feel like you were going to go into yours, so don't let me stop you.
No, I'm not going to let you stop me. I'm an unstoppable train here at the moment. I want to shout this out. And Barks, I'm not going to try and bring up my screen because I've really only got one hand because I'm holding my microphone like an absolute chump. But scrolling through 7AFL this morning, obviously, if you're an AFL fan, Melbourne Demons have only lost one game so far this year, and that's to the Adelaide Crows. 7AFL, they've had a bit of a mare recently, I've got to say. Like, they haven't been the most attentive in their copy. I'm going to show you on my phone. So I'm trying to get there we go. Yeah. Here we go.
Bit overexposed.
Bit overexposed, but there we go. You can see it. It's a meme of Jamie Foxx, I believe, and the caption says
Crom
fans. Now, I don't know. I'm not really into bird watching or whatever they call that. Like, I don't go out with the binoculars and try and work out different species of birds, but I'm pretty sure it's a crow.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think you're right, though.
Like the M and the W aren't even anywhere near each other on the fucking keyboard. Like, what was this person thinking?
Well, they probably didn't think. They probably just typed. But credit to them, because I'm turning into a boss because you told me that they're keeping it up and own it.
They've kept it up. So, yeah, slight boss. More egg, though. Yeah. I wonder if that's like they're just doing that all on purpose, like they're being bad on purpose.
Purely for those, like, interaction stats?
Yeah.
That'd be funny, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I feel like you attack... Have you had a few... Was that 7AFL or Fox Footy?
7AFL. Okay, I think I've gone to Fox Footy as well. No one's safe, Barks. No one's safe.
That's a good tagline. I'm going to go with a very obvious one from this week. We probably don't need to share my screen, but I'm going to do it just because I can. Just because I know how to, because I'm a technology whiz.
Well, I would bloody do it. I'm Freddie Mercury right now with this, like, boom of a...
Well, I don't even know the title.
Yes.
The Adelaide, health officer or something?
Yeah.
We probably all heard it during the week. We could put a little snippet in the show, but she basically told people, because of the COVID Sharon crackdown, as our boy Mark Stevens has put in this tweet, but she basically said in the press conference that if you're at Adelaide Oval and you get the ball near you, kicked into the stands, to duck and don't touch the ball. But I'm sort of egging her for the way she talks about AFL footy like it's some sort of weird sport that she's never heard of, and maybe she hasn't, but whatever your name is, do you know her name? Health officer.
I don't know her name.
You're the egg.
She's not Brett Sutton, so I don't know.
You don't care.
Adelaide Oval and the ball comes towards you. My advice to you is to duck and just do not touch that ball.
She's my egg. I couldn't go past that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, thanks.
Just like duck the balls. Duck the balls.
Duck the balls. That's an interesting tagline.
Take life by the balls. Dodgeball.
Everybody is safe. Let's flip the switch, hey?
Wait.
Oh, you got
I've got one more egg.
Okay,
I got one more egg.
Sorry.
I'm gonna have to. We might just have to do some editing here because I haven't got the video up and ready to go. But did you see on social the other day Channel 9's vaccination video
with all the
with all the hosts?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you egging that?
I'm egging it. I'm egging it because well done on like showing all these boomers getting their fucking vaccinations. Well done. But you would have thought, like, in the production of that, did you not notice that there was not like one non-white person in that video?
That's a very, very good point. I think I scrolled past. I didn't watch the whole thing, but fair enough.
Oh my god, like you've gone to all that effort to get all these like hosts together or what? And I'll stand corrected if there was someone that was non-white in there, but from the face value, it would have been very easy to just go and sort that out properly.
You would think so.
You would think so in this day and age.
A fair enough egg from you.
Yes, thank you.
Can we move on to Boss of the Week now?
We can move in. Yeah. No, let's move on to Boss.
All right. Boss of the week. I had one quick one, and I'm going to just do it straight away because I'm sort of the boss on this show, I think, in many ways.
Yes, you are.
I'm just going to boss the Carolina Panthers for taking it back, just complete take. Oh, fucking hell. I'm just going to run with that. Taking their stripping their content back is what I was trying to go to. Just Facebook posts of white text on whatever background and going, who's the biggest Panthers, Oh, Panthers fan, Fucking hell, this time slot's killing me, Jules. Tell us how you became a Panthers fan. And they're just stripping back content to its purest basic form, and judging by this tweet, it's working. And a little thread of other brands doing it, such as Budweiser in the US, and I believe it works. And I just sort of bossing it because sometimes we overthink what the hell we should do and just post text saying, tell us how you became a Panthers fan.
That's a really interesting example there. Let's put that in our little spreadsheet box, because I think that's a good example of how we sometimes overcomplicate content. Yeah. Like, exactly. If it gets engagement, is it not like worth doing?
Yeah, and those things would build what we're going back to before, sort of build the community. Like, that's what people love posting on. If they're scrolling on like Facebook, that's probably what they're looking for.
Just like start talking about it.
Yeah, talk about it. What do you? You don't have a boss this week?
Oh, actually, I do, and it kind of like ties into content as well. I've adjusted my hand, so I'm going to try and share my screen here. Give me 1 second. I've got it queued up. All right. So, Barks, I don't know, you would have been watching, but the Carlton-Sydney game the other day?
Yes, I actually worked it.
You worked it, yeah. So, at one stage, there was a kick that went... I'm just going to leave this playing in the background, but I think Isaac Heaney may have kicked the ball into like the third tier of the stadium when he kicked a goal. And this little girl, Edda, actually marked the ball. And there was this great photo afterwards of her like hugging the ball that you can see like she didn't want to give it back. And this is real credit to the Swans. This is also a great bit of content. We'll chuck it up in the spreadsheet for everyone to watch. But they went and found Edda, and they actually gave her like this whole experience and filmed the whole thing. And I think they got her to meet Isaac Heaney, it looks like, down the bottom here, and she got the ball that was signed. Yeah. And again, like nothing out of this world in terms of the thinking behind it or whatnot, but like, sorry, I've stopped that on a really scary screenshot.
Kids are side notes. Kids are the scariest.
But like, just a great little bit of content there from Michelle and the team. So bosses there, kudos to you all at the Sydney Swans, and Michelle runs a great ship up there. So congratulations. Great little bit of content.
It's just opportunistic. That's all it is, and that's what it takes sometimes, because everyone loved that. You don't need to be a Swans fan.
Feel good. Feel good shit. Wholesome. Tears. I don't know why there'd be tears in that. But I want to tell you, when I first watched that video, Jules, I might even egg the mother of that daughter. Oh, here we go. Are we going back to Egg of the Week? We've never done this.
Well, because it reminded me, I think she was fluffing around with her phone in the moment and she missed the photo. So if you go back to that video just in your spare time, you don't need it right now, 25 seconds I think on that video, I believe her camera didn't look like she actually got the photo.
Oh, she didn't get the photo. You're right. What's she doing?
Because I'm pretty sure.
Oh, actually, no, she got it. Just.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Her camera was lagging, but it looks like if you go to 20 seconds, it looks like she gets the screen up.
Okay, well, I'm actually not looking at it, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I think she just gets it up.
Because I think the father took the ball away too quickly. I'm egging both of them.
Well, if we're going back to eggs, can I also go ahead and do a double egg boss?
Oh, what? That's madness.
That's madness. LeBron James.
What, for losing?
For walking off the court 5 minutes before the game's finished. Fucking Suki LeBron over there. But on the flip side of that, don't try and defend him. I'm not.
No. I was about to actually say you can egg me because we can go back to my predictions.
Yes. We're not gonna, you put predictions out, but I want to egg him for that because that's just real sooky behaviour. Like, stay out for the entire game.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the boss of it is, I saw that he went and gave Devin Booker like they did a Guernsey swap after the game.
Yes.
So clearly got over his little tantrum and then, was the LeBron that you love.
Well, I mean, we could just not. He could just be needing to go for a shit. Like, we don't know.
You reckon?
Oh, it could.
You reckon?
I actually find those Jersey/Guernsey swaps funny because that photo looked like Devin Booker didn't give it back to LeBron. So what if LeBron just walked down the hallway and here you go, mate, here's a signed jersey. But what if Devin Booker didn't want it?
I don't want to give you this jumper.
Like, I've never idolized you. I don't care about you.
Okay. You're just a hack, mate.
Cut it out. That's my father speaking about. Can I just shout out?
You ish.
Before you wrap us up, quick. I had a tweet, from our account. New bit of a favorite Twitter account for you video nuffies out there. Just video nerds, AV rats as you like to call us.
AV rats.
Praise the Cameraman is a new Twitter page that I'm finding enjoyable to follow. It's at Praise the Seaman. Just go Praise the Cameraman. But it's just a little. I don't know where they're getting these pieces from, but So right now, like I'm not even going to go into what we're watching right now, but it's basically just behind the scenes of things that are filmed, but they go from the behind the scenes perspective of how the hell it was filmed. And most of them are just social media bits, usually filmed on their phone, but I think it's pretty entertaining, like this one, Jules.
Yeah, nice shots. When are we, where does this stop though? It's an awesome account, but then is there praise the cameraman's cameraman? How deep do we go?
I don't know.
And why have they got like a Nazi thing as their whoa, what's going on here, bud? No, you dick, the cover image. What kind of accounts are you tweeting about? Look at the cover image. What's going on here, Barks?
Okay, cut.
Jesus.
Anyway, apart from their cover photo, pretty interesting account they've got going. Like this.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it looks like more a Nazi scene.
Stop share. Anyway, I just thought I'd shout that out because it's an interesting follow.
Oh dear. Yeah, good call. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed our episode with Jenna. And Jenna, once again, thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
It's a real pleasure to hear from you. I can't give a round of applause, mate. I've got one hand.
Come on, just give it up, Jules. It's not funny unless you're watching the YouTube version.
Snaps. Anyway, that's us for a week. We'll be back with a regular episode next week, but we are working away at another couple of guests in the near future, so stay tuned. And as always, remember to like, follow, and subscribe on social media. Just search the Content Catchup. Full episodes up on YouTube if you want to see all the shenanigans that are going on behind the scenes, including my makeshift microphone stand.
And TikTok. Big TikTok.
Yeah, you jump on. I'm trying to go viral. So
the what?
Viral, Michael. Viral.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, this has now become the longest outro in history. So peace out, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Love your mothers.
Almost as bad as my Jenna intro. And love your mothers was a very creepy way to end it, but we will end it. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.